Have you ever stopped to think that the human body, especially the body of an elderly, is like a wise machine that warns when you are about to turn off? And the frightening, almost no one understands these signs. Most people ignore or misinterpret the symptoms, losing the chance to act before it's too late. But what if I told you that there are 5 silent signs that the elderly body gives before death, and that you can recognize them in time? If you are over 60 or take care of someone in your aging family, this video can literally be the difference between despair and preparation, between pain and care, between suffering and dignity. The body speaks, and he warns, but unfortunately, almost no one can listen. Today, we will break this silence. Let's reveal the 5 main warnings of the body before death in the elderly. Real signs, clinical and often ignored even by health professionals themselves. And most importantly, I will show you how to identify each of them and what you can do to act with wisdom, empathy, and if possible, even reverse this picture. But before continuing, I want to ask you a sincere question. Would you know if your father, your mother, or even yourself are receiving any of these signs now? Or is all this going unnoticed? As with thousands of families every day, the truth is hard, but it needs to be said. Aging is not the problem. The problem is ignoring the signs that the body gives before turning off. These signs involve from subtle respiratory changes to changes in skin color, behavior, and functioning of vital organs. These are symptoms that most people treat as normal age, but they can actually be the last body's warnings before total bankruptcy. And what makes all this even more serious is that many elderly people die without being understood, without anyone realizing that what seemed just one more difficult day was, in fact, the body saying goodbye. So it's not just a video, it's a warning, a call to consciousness, because you can offer more comfort, more dignity, and even more life if you know how to identify these warnings in time. You may be watching this because you love someone who is aging. Maybe you are afraid to go through this in the future. Or maybe deep down you have already noticed something strange in your body or the behavior of someone in your family. Is it just tiredness? Is it just old age? Or is it a silent help request? Stay with me, because throughout this video you will understand what few have the courage to talk about the end of life. And no, it's not about giving up. It is about understanding, about recognizing body language before time runs out. And if this subject touched you, if it makes sense to you, leave the like and already subscribes to the channel, because here we talk about what really matters, about health, prevention, and especially about what no one told you about the signs of the body before death. And now that you have understood how urgent this is, how much it can make a difference, let's go straight to the first sign, the most common and the most ignored. Let's go straight to the first sign, the most common and the most ignored. But before following, let me ask you something. Comments down if you have witnessed some strange behavior, some sudden change in an elderly man in your family, something that seemed normal, but today, with this content, made you reflect. It can be a father, a grandfather, an aunt, even yourself. Your experience can help other people who are going through the same situation and may not even know. This space here is more than a video on YouTube. It is a support point, a community of those who care about the health of our elderly. So the more you comment, share, and participate, the more this content comes to those who really need it. And look, if you haven't left like it, do it now. It may seem little, but YouTube understands that this is an important subject and shows the video to more people. People who, like you, are looking for answers. People who may be one step to lose someone for lack of information. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Here we talk about prostate health, aging, silent signs of the body, and everything you need to know to take better care of yourself and those who love. It's not just information, it's prevention, it's consciousness, it's careful. Now yes, let's go to the first warning that the elderly body gives before you die. Pay close attention, because this sign is so subtle that many people only realize after it is too late. The human body is an impressive machine with defense mechanisms and warning that act as true survival sensors. Throughout life, he learns to adapt, resist, to heal. Badass over time, especially in the elderly, this machine begins to show signs of wear, and most importantly, she warns. It signals. She shouts, albeit in silence. Especially in the body of the elderly, the signs that something serious is about to happen in advance. The problem is that these signs are subtle, often masked by the common discourse of, "This is normal of age." Only it is not. What many people interpret as tiredness, laziness, or distraction can be the body clearly communicating that it is approaching its limit. As we get older, natural regeneration capacity decreases. The body no longer responds to the same rapidly inflammation, infections, or imbalances. Recovery after a fall, influenza, or even a sleepless night can take days, or even weeks. This is because the body, when entering the stage of advanced aging, needs to prioritize the functioning of the vital organs. The heart, the kidneys, the brain, the respiratory system, all operates more economically, slower, and unfortunately, more fragile. Therefore, when an organ starts to fail, even discreetly, it affects everything else. It is the so-called domino effect of organic bankruptcy, and this is where the body begins to issue its 5 main warnings. These warnings do not always come in the form of intense pain or dramatic symptoms. On the contrary, they manifest themselves so quietly that many families only realize that something was wrong when there is nothing else to do. A breath that changes standard, unusual drowsiness, constant refusal to eating, a skin that begins to lose natural heat, a different expression on the face. All this may seem small, but it's huge, because each of these signs represents the body trying to maintain what is still left of energy to survive, trying to warn that it needs help, that it is reaching its limit. And here is a point that no one speaks. The body does not turn off overnight, especially in the elderly. The shutdown process may start days, weeks before death itself, and it is in this interval that care makes all the difference. Knowing how to recognize the signs of the body is more than an act of knowledge. It is a gesture of love. And as difficult as it is to deal with this reality, ignoring the signs is always worse, because regret comes when we realize that it could have done something different. If only I had understood what the body was trying to say. Often, due to lack of information, signs are ignored. Mental disorientation, for example, can be seen as passing confusion. But in many cases, it indicates that the brain is suffering from decreased blood flow. The same goes for cold, bluish skin at the ends, which indicates that circulation is being centered on vital organs. This is not an isolated symptom. It is the body prioritizing what is essential to continue working for a few more hours or days. It is biology playing its role, even in the face of imminent bankruptcy. And that's not all. Another classic example is the change in urine and evacuation pattern. When the elderly begins to urinate less or simply to evacuate, it is a clear sign that the kidneys and intestines are starting to fail. Many people think this is just lack of appetite or fluid intake, but in fact, it is the body entering a state of total economy. The body, realizing that it can no longer eliminate toxins or process nutrients, begins to turn off systems to preserve as little energy as possible. The name of this is terminal homeostasis, and it is much more common than you think. Therefore, when we say that the body warns, we are talking about a silent code, but it can be learned. A code that, if interpreted in the right way, allows those who take care of the elderly to offer comfort, dignity, and even. Because yes, in some cases, simply recognizing a signal can completely change the way this process happens. It may allow the family to prepare, that the elderly receive the proper care, that the pain is relieved, that suffering is minimized. It can allow the end of life to be lighter, more human, more respected. This is why this content is so important, because we are not just here to talk about death. We are here to talk about understanding, about empathy, about the wisdom of looking at the elderly body with attention, respect, and awareness that every detail matters. It is not about creating panic. It is about awakening attention. It is about taking the veil that covers the reality of aging and facing the fact that the body speaks yes, and often shouts. The difference is in who is willing to listen. If you have gotten here, it is because you care, and that's why I need to ask you something very special. Comment here below, and you've been through some situations similar to what we've said so far. You can write, "I've seen this happen," or "It makes sense to me." These simple phrases help other people who are living the same reality to feel welcomed. Believe me, your experience may be the light to someone who is in the dark. Now you already understand why the elderly body warns before turning off completely. It's time to open your eyes and the heart to the most important signs, the most revealing, and unfortunately, also the most ignored. There are 5 silent, discreet, but extremely clear warnings that indicate that the body is in an advanced process of bankruptcy. Pay attention, because understanding each of these signs can be the difference between despair and preparation, between pain and dignity. We are not talking here about theories, but real facts, observed daily by caregivers, doctors, family, and those who closely live the fragile phase of human life. Old age in their last moments. The first sign is extreme fatigue and muscle weakness. And we are not talking about common tiredness, the one that comes after a walk or a sleepless night. We are talking about deep exhaustion, as if the whole body is giving up. The elderly simply stop moving, begins to spend more time lying down, avoid speaking, and in many cases rejects even food and water. It is as if the body, already on maximum warning, decided to keep the little energy it still has to maintain only the most basic processes of operation. You notice that even the eyes get more erased. The shine goes. It is an exhaustion that goes beyond the physical, affects the emotional, the mental, the spirit. Many families report, "He just wants to sleep all the time. She can't even hold the glass anymore." This is not lazy. This is the body warning that it is too tired to keep fighting. The second sign is the change in breathing, known as Cheney-Stokes standard. This is one of the scariest signs because it reveals that the central nervous system, responsible for the involuntary control of breathing, is starting to fail. Breathing becomes irregular with long breaks and deep sighs. Sometimes the elderly person is several seconds without breathing and suddenly pulls the air as if drowning. This can happen during sleep or even in vigil. It is a clear sign that the brain is struggling to maintain control of basic body commands. And here, a lot of people despair, thinking it is a passing crisis. But unfortunately, in most cases, it is one of the last stages. The air enters, but oxygen does not reach the same efficiency. The system is collapsing and the body is slowly trying to find a new balance, even if this balance means the final shutdown. The third signal is visible to the touch and look. Cold hands and feet, often with a bluish or purplish color. This is because the body, in a final effort of survival, redirects blood to the vital organs, heart, brain, lungs. The ends are no longer oxygenated and therefore cool. This phenomenon is called centralized circulation, and it is more common than you think. The person may be conscious, but his hands already report that the body is preparing to close his functions. In many cases, family members notice this sign but do not know how to interpret it. They think it is only poor circulation or effect of the cold of the environment, but it is not. It is the body prioritizing the survival of what is vital. When the feet and hands start to lose color, when the touch turns pale and cold, the alert should sound. This is one of those signs that do not deceive. The fourth signal is even more delicate because it involves the mental and emotional aspect, disorientation, or even hallucinations. And here, many think it's a head thing, which is old delirium, but it's not quite. When the brain ceases to receive sufficient oxygen, it begins to fail to process reality. The elderly can forget who it is, confuse people close, mix past with present. You can say disconnected things or even see people who have died. Many families report, he said he saw his mother in the room. She spoke to her father who passed away years ago. This, in fact, is the brain trying to deal with the lack of energy to maintain lucidity. It's not crazy. It's not sudden dementia. It is the natural result of oxygen scarcity and emotional overload. And see, this does not happen overnight. It is gradual. First comes the confusion, then the loss of notion of time, then the difficulty of recognizing faces, and finally, the total dismissal of consciousness. This sign is usually the most painful for those around, because that's when the loved one begins to disappear, even though it's still there. And finally, we reach the fifth sign, the changes in standards of urine and intestine. This is a direct physical symptom of the bankruptcy of the kidneys and the gut. Urine production decreases dramatically or for good. The elderly can spend days without urinating or evacuating, and it is not for lack of fluid intake only. It is because the organs responsible for filtering and elimination of waste are no longer functioning as they should. This generates an accumulation of toxins in the body, which in turn further accelerates the process of organic failure. Often, the elderly skin begins to turn yellow, the eyes darken, and the breath becomes heavier. precisely because of the inner poisoning that the body can no longer control. This is one of the most serious signs, because it indicates that the body can no longer maintain its own balance. When the elderly stop eliminating, it is because the body is also stopping receiving. It is a cycle that closes completely. These 5 signs do not all appear at once, and not always in the same order. But when 2 or more of them begin to emerge at the same time, the alert should be total. The body is communicating, asking for care, asking for understanding. The most important at this moment is the presence, affection, the comfort, because even if medicine can no longer offer healing, dignity and love are still possible. And here comes the fundamental role of family, caregivers, close people. It's not enough just being around. You need to be aware, observe, to hear, touch, to speak. The touch of a hand, the silent presence beside the bed, listening without judgments. All of this helps the elderly to cross this moment with more serenity. And now I want to know about you. Have you ever witnessed any of these signs on someone in your family? Any behavior that you found strange but now makes sense? Write here in the comments, "I've seen this happen," or "Now I understand what that meant." Your experience can play other people. You can open the eyes of someone who is going through this right now and does not know how to act. When these signs begin to emerge, one by one, or even together, many people panic. It is common to see children, grandchildren, and caregivers feeling lost, trying to seek quick answers, wanting to act desperately to reverse the picture. But what few know, and almost no one has the courage to say, is that the right way is not always to try to save at any cost. Often, true care is to understand that the body of the elderly is entering a natural and inevitable process. Death, despite being a theme avoided by many, need not be viewed as the abrupt end, but as a transition that can be done with respect, love, and especially dignity. Therefore, by recognizing any of the 5 signs we speak so far, your first attitude should not be of despair, but of welcoming. The body is turning off, yes, but you may be the bridge between suffering and relief. The first thing to do is seek medical help, but not any kind of help. Here comes a concept that many people are unaware, but that can completely change the way this process is lived: palliative care. Contrary to popular belief, palliative care does not mean giving up the patient, but focusing on relieving pain, discomfort, and physical and emotional anguish that accompanies the end of life. It is a humanized service, aimed at maintaining well-being, respecting the elderly will, and supporting the whole family. When the body no longer responds to healing treatments, insisting on aggressive interventions often only increases suffering, and that needs to be said clearly. It's not about doing less. It's about doing what really matters at that moment. In addition to seeking specialized guidance, it is essential to keep the elderly hydrated, even in small quantities. Hydration brings relief to dry mouth, avoids internal discomfort, and facilitates the functioning of the few processes that are still active. If the elderly can still swallow, offer water, tea, or even pieces of fruit with plenty of fluids can make a big difference. And if you can't, there are alternatives such as sprayers, moist gauze in the mouth, or saline, always with the accompaniment of a professional. Small gestures like this show that care is present even in the simplest actions. And this kind of attention is what really humanizes the last days of the one who is leaving. Another crucial point is comfort. Here we are not just talking about physical comfort, such as a soft pillow or a position that relieves pain. We are talking about an entire environment focused on tranquility, soft light, low noises, a silent presence beside the bed, a song that refers to childhood or good memories. All of this contributes to the elderly feeling welcomed, protected, in peace. Many times, sweet and loving words have more effect than any medicine. A simple "I'm here with you" said with sincerity can calm a mind in confusion and a heart in distress. Does not underestimate the power of presence. Even without speaking, even without reacting, the elderly feels. He realizes who is around, recognizes gestures, responds with his eyes. Therefore, your presence is more important than you think. What's more, one of the biggest errors families at this time is to insist on invasive measures such as ICU hospitalizations, risk surgical procedures, or heavy medications that cause severe side effects. When the body no longer responds well to treatments, these actions often only prolong pain without offering quality of life. It is essential to understand the difference between extending life and prolonging suffering. Sometimes the greatest act of love is to allow the process to follow its natural course, carefully, with comfort and respect. This is not withdrawal. This is lucidity. It is emotional maturity. It is understanding that we will all one day come at this moment, and that the way we take care of our elderly today reflects the kind of care that one day we will also want to receive. Within this process, it is also indispensable to open a space for dialogue with the family. Often each family member is living this moment differently. One feels guilty, another denies reality, another still believes that there is time to try something new. But the frank, loving conversation can align everyone for the same purpose, taking care of the elderly with presence, truth, with dignity, asking what the elderly himself wants, if he can still express himself. It is an attitude of immense value, listening to what he feels, how to be careful, what he would like to happen in his last days. All of this helps to make this process more human, more respectful, lighter, and if he can no longer talk, it is up to the family to act based on love and common sense. Each decision made must come from the heart, but also from understanding what is really necessary and useful at that time. From here, each gesture matters. A clean towel, a light blanket, one hand holding another, a look that says, "You're not alone." This is the essence of true care. Medicine does what it can, but affection does what is essential. And in many cases, what the elderly need most is not a new exam, a new medicine, a new expert. What he needs is company, respectful silence, of love translated into presence. And this is what, in fact, saves lives, not in the sense of avoiding death, but in the deepest sense of saving the dignity, peace, and beauty of a farewell made with love. And now I want to talk to you who listen to me here. I want to invite you to reflect and share. Have you ever lived something like that? Have you taken care of someone who presented these signs and didn't know what to do? Or maybe now, while listening to me, are you going through this process with someone close? Write here in the comments. You can write something like, "I've lived it," or "Now I understand what was going on." Sharing your experience can help other people who are going through it. You have no idea how much your account can touch someone's heart. If you stayed with me here, really, my thank you. This shows that you care, that you are aware, that you are seeking more than quick answers. You are seeking knowledge, empathy, and humanity. And so, I want to make you a special invitation. Subscribe now on the channel. Here we talk about the health of the elderly, signs of the body that no one comments, palliative care, quality of life, prevention, prostate health, and everything that is really important for those who want to live and take better care of those who love. Click the subscribe button and activate the bell, because there are a lot of content like this coming, and you won't want to lose. And if this video touched you in any way, comments down here. Now I understand the signs. This will show me that you stayed until the end, and besides, it will help YouTube deliver this video to more people who need this urgent content. Oh, and don't forget to leave the like. If you got here, it is because this content made sense to you. Like is your way of saying it matters, and it is critical for more people to be achieved with this message. And now, before leaving, check the next video that is appearing here on the screen. It will complement everything you just saw and show you how to maintain the quality of life and well-being, even in the face of the biggest challenges. Click and continue with me on this journey. We still have a lot to learn, together.